I'm Temi Olatunde with CityNews, and I'm here with Michael Champagne, Indigenous community activist. So Michael, what has the year been like for you?
I think 2023 has been a pretty challenging year for myself, for the north end of Winnipeg, for Indigenous people. But it's also been a year where we've seen a lot of, I think, victories as a community, celebrations and reasons for us to continue pushing forward. We're here right now at the St. John's Library because one of the things that I've been seeing this year is a lot more young Indigenous people in the city being interested in learning their language. And this past summer, St. John's Library welcomed myself and many others into the space.
The Inanimotan language class held at the library allowed Champagne and many others learn Swampy Cree language, creating a community of speakers in the North End. So Michael, what has been some of the biggest challenges this year? What have you seen? What have you heard?
I think what we've been seeing in the North End of Winnipeg and in other inner city neighborhoods is we've been seeing a large increase in violence. We've been seeing a lot of folks that are experiencing violence, losing loved ones too soon. And this increase in violence we're really seeing is people crying out for help that don't have the mental health care that they need, that don't have the financial supports that they need. So people in addiction and in poverty are the folks that are often, and their families are often the people that are connected to these really violent incidences that are happening in Winnipeg, and that's had a big impact on the entire neighborhood.
So what do you think our focus should be, in the new year, 2024?
I think we really have to take a look at how do we prevent these tragedies from happening in our community? What are the ingredients that we need for a healthy life, for a happy life, so that people have the things that they need so that they don't end up committing those crimes? I think another challenge in our neighborhood that we're seeing this year is harmful substance use and overdoses. And this, again, I think comes from folks that don't have access to the things that they need, the food that they need, the health care that they need, the love and support and family that they need. And so with these difficulties and these challenges, I'm really hopeful that 2024 will be a year where we get serious about addressing them.
Winnipeg being a leader in Indigenous relations and reconciliation is a big deal for you. So how do you think we need to step up in that regard?
Well, I think we have in Winnipeg the Indigenous Accord that over 200 organizations and businesses have signed. That is an opportunity and a tool that we can use to try to hold those businesses accountable, to ensure that they're hiring Indigenous people, providing education on history and current events with Indigenous people to non-Indigenous staff people, and also supporting Indigenous initiatives all across Winnipeg. I think having the first First Nations Premier as well as the first First Nations woman elected to cabinet are really, really strong indicators that reconciliation is going to improve in the province of Manitoba. I think that having such a leadership group that currently is in Manitoba in these high-ranking positions allows us as a community to have hope and faith and confidence that some of these things that they've been talking about in the election are actually going to happen. But one thing that I will say is, as hopeful as I am, and as hopeful as many people are, we also have to remember that the province is a big machine, and it's going to take more than just one elected person or two elected people to make the difference that we need in healthcare and economics to make sure that everyone in Manitoba is cared for. I think 2024, the magic word is going to be implementation. A lot of promises, a lot of reports, and a lot of recommendations are piling up on desks at city, provincial, and federal levels. But implementation is weak. So what my hope is for all leaders of all levels is that we take a look at some of those reports that have been inputted by citizens of Manitoba and the inner city and people with lived experience in these many different systems, and we will actually implement many of those recommendations. Because if we can move all the systems around during COVID, like we did when we considered that an emergency, I would hope that we would consider Manitoba being the province with the highest rate of child poverty would be looked at also as an emergency, and we move our systems and resources around appropriately to reflect that emergency too.